Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach.
Welcome to Paradise with Julia Newman. That sounds very appealing, I hope, and it is indeed a paradise. At least if you love tropical sort of paradise, I think it's just the best. So what you see here is my husband lying on the beach and just doing a sunbath. And you can see the flag of Seychelles, which is just amazing. You know, this is maybe the most simple flag of all, and no religion, no contradiction, no nothing. We're just talking about the green color of the vegetation, the white color of the sand, the red color of the hibiscus flower, which is truly all over the place, and it is so symbolic and so happy, and the yellow color of the sun and the blue color of the Indian Ocean. So, you know, just simple and perfect. So for those of you who are not sure where it is, I had no idea whatsoever before I first started thinking of, of the 20th anniversary. So this is where Seychelles is. As you can see, it's on the right-hand side, like east of Africa, just about 2 hours flight from Kenya, just a bit south of the equator, just a bit north of Madagascar. And if you keep flying east, so you will reach Malaysia, right? So here we are in the Indian Ocean. And since it is located in between Africa and India, so the population is Indian, African, and everything in between. And the flight from Israel takes about 6 hours. Israel is right where it says you, okay? I mean, me, and hopefully you soon. And we were flying directly from Israel, from you, across the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden. We saw just a little tip of Yemen, a little tip of Somalia, and we made it to Seychelles. So that was about 6 hours flight, a beautiful flight. You fly above and along Israel and the Red Sea, and you see Sinai and Saudi Arabia. It was just beautiful. And then you make it to Seychelles. So Seychelles Islands, it consists of 115 islands. Most of them are not populated. Most of them are just, little rocks with some vegetation. Only 33 of them are populated. And actually, there are only 3 which have some sort of a size. So the biggest one, the central one, is this one, the biggest one. And this is the one where we stayed. It's called Mahe. And this is where the capital is, which is called Victoria, named after the Queen of England. All right. So this is Mahe. This is where we are going to land soon. And then about 15 minutes long flight can take you to the next largest island, which is called Praline or Grand Anse. And then there's the tiny little one called La Digue. And these are the 3 major islands. Now, the population is 100,000 people. Okay, that's it. This is the population of Seychelles. And about 70% of those live on this major island of Mahe. And most of them live in the capital, which is called Victoria. The bottom line is that the rest is almost empty, and we're talking about the beautiful beaches and the vegetation. So these 100,000 people speak 3 official languages. One is English, which is very convenient. They used to be part of Great Britain up until 1976. This is where they got their independence, so they're younger than Israel. And they keep their British English just amazing. You know, they all speak this British accent, which I cannot imitate. The other official language is French, because before British, there were a French colony. And then the third language is something which is called the Seychelles Creole. The Seychelles Creole language is, well, it's like you take French and then you make it very simple. Okay, that's the idea. And this is the language which is spoken by most of the indigenous population of Seychelles, which are Black, most of them of African origins, some of them of Indian, Polynesian origins, but it's like a spoiled French. That's what it sounds like. And that's called the Creole, the Seychelles Creolic language. And on top of that, there are the 50 shades of green and brown, the amazing diversity of the vegetation, and with all possible colors and shades of green and brown, because again, you know, the population is African, a bit Arab, Indian, Bangladesh, Malaysian, Australian, everybody, they all colored. And, you know, for the first time, I understood the meaning of the word colored, because they're not black, they're like everything, mocha, brown, black, everything in between, and they're so beautiful. It's just amazingly interesting to look at them. Almost no white population there, even though there used to be some white people. They even used to be Jews living in Seychelles. Well, you know, no wonder, we always have Jews all over the world. But the small Jewish community which existed left when Seychelles became independent. So they left, well, some to France, some to England. And so today there's almost no white population. There are some white workers, there are some, you know, foreign workers and stuff, but the population is colored. This is what you see before you actually land. You see, well, the white are the clouds. This is a photo taken from the airplane. And down there, you can see a little island, which was about to make it to become an island, but it never became an island. So this is underwater. And these are the beautiful coral reefs, which are out of reach for simple tourists. I mean, there are special packages for divers, and you have to have a special permit because this is part of the national park. And we never made it, but it's just beautiful. You know, you have 115 islands, and then you have so many more little islands which never became an actual island. Okay, so if you dive, this must be a paradise for you. And welcome to Mahe. You see this little house here? This is the airport. This is the one and the only international airport of Seychelles, at the capital, which is at the main island. And it looks like a little, I don't know, it's well, this is what it is. I mean, it's right on the beach. There are no fences, there are no gates, there is no security, there's nothing like that, you know. It is a paradise. What should you worry about? There was actually security on our way back on the plane to get back to Israel, but it was very, very basic. And we were asked to check our luggage thoroughly because they have no X-ray machines. And so the only way for them to make sure that nothing dangerous gets on the plane is for me to check my luggage to make sure that it is all right. So I've checked and it was okay. So that's how it works. They actually do have an X-ray machine, the one and the only X-ray machine for luggage on your way in, which makes sure that you did not bring any food. No fresh food, because they're very afraid of, you know, foreign contamination by germs and insects and stuff like that. So I forgot a nectarine in my handbag, and it was confiscated. I asked if I can possibly eat the nectarine on spot, and the security lady said no way. And so it went directly to the garbage, which was, you know, sad, but all right. And here you see, this is one of the engines of the airplane we came with. This is El Al flight, and it's a Rolls-Royce engine. So this is why I decided to put this photo here. You know, we had the best engine of all, and it was indeed a great flight. So you land and you simply walk from the airplane into the terminal, and then you walk outside and you're free to do whatever you want. So the entrance is here. You can see these people. Okay, these are the Israeli people who landed with me. And right behind me, That's where the ocean is. I mean, we are about 100 steps from the ocean, and you actually feel as if the airplane was landing almost on the waves, which is a bit annoying, but eventually it landed as it should have. Okay. We made it. And this is, that's the best of Seychelles. I mean, I guess we all saw photos of Seychelles or other tropical islands. And me personally, I always suspected that there is some sort of a Photoshop, there is some sort of, game with the colors. It cannot be that blue. And you know what? It's true. I mean, this is what it actually looks like. And the island is a granite rocky island with this incredible tropical lush rich vegetation and the hibiscus flowers, of course, and these tiny little white sand beaches, like tiny little, every little bay will have a tiny little beach. And so you always have some privacy, if there is somebody here, so you can either walk or drive another minute or two, and then you will find a private beach, okay? So we were staying, what you see now behind me, my virtual background was my real background for a week, because this is what we saw from the balcony of the apartment we stayed. This is a privately owned villa, which is, like Airbnb. And you just sit on the balcony, and this is what we did for about 1/3 of the day, probably. We just sat on the balcony looking at the view, which you can see now behind me. And we did not really feel like going anywhere, because what could be better? But after a few hours, we did things, as you will see. Something I really like to see on this photo on the right, this is a shower. I hope you can see that this is a shower. And this shower is actually outside. I mean, this is the roof, and the house itself is on the right. You don't see it. And this is how the houses are built, because, if you think about it, you go to the beach and then you bring some sand with you. So you don't want to get sandy into your house. And therefore, you first walk into the shower. Okay, there is a door on the left. Again, you don't see it on the photo, but there is actually a door on the left. And then you walk into the shower, you take a shower, and then you walk into your house. This is very convenient. And this is something which reminded me of my trip to Sri Lanka almost 30 years ago, this outdoor shower. And you can hear the ocean as you take a shower, and you can see the beautiful vegetation, and nobody will see you because you're totally surrounded by the vegetation. And so, it's safe, protected. Now it is the rainy and the cold season. Cold season meaning that the average daily temperature is 28 degrees, which is about, somebody can help me. This is like the best possible, a bit warm, but great, around 75 maybe. Sure, we have Harry or Alvin to help us. Okay, it's really, really warm. Okay, it's really humid, and there's no problem whatsoever to take a shower outdoors. Just wonderful. Now, just in case you just walk to the beach and you don't have that much sand and you don't feel like taking a shower, so right at the balcony you have this. You see on the left there is a pot, and this pot is full of fresh water and a hibiscus flower to make it pretty, and a little, well, it's not so little, actually a pretty big cup made of coconut. And then you can take this coconut cup and wash your feet, and then you walk into your house. Everything is just perfect, okay? They actually thought about everything. And then all you need to do is to relax on your balcony and look up there, the blue sky and the coconut palms. This is the tropical breakfast. This is really great. I mean, if you love fruits, again, you have the papaya, you have the mango, you have something which in Israel it's called a nona. I'm not sure there is such a fruit, and passion fruit and bananas, and a tiny little watermelon. This watermelon is of the size of a big apple, but it's actually delicious. So this is like your personal private watermelon. And this is the first part of the breakfast, and then you get the organic eggs, and then you get some veggies and some bread, no dairy products, by the way, which is quite weird for Israelis. In Israel, we what you normally have for breakfast is bread and eggs and cheese of various kinds, right? And yogurt maybe, and vegetable salad. Now, in Seychelles, they have plenty of fresh fruit, and therefore they probably don't feel any need in fresh vegetables. So this is something which does not exist. Like, people don't eat fresh vegetables, raw vegetables, they just don't do that. And they don't have cows, and therefore they don't have dairy products, and they don't have milk. They have only cans, not canned, like vacuum sealed milk, which is imported from somewhere. And so the dairy products, we actually missed the dairy products, but the fruits are great. And that was our closest neighbor. Can you see the turtle? Can you see the turtle, guys? Yeah. Okay. Well, you don't see how big it is because you have nothing to compare it to. But I can tell you that this Seychelles turtle can weigh up to 300 pounds. Okay. It is a very big one. The tiny ones, like really, really little ones, will weigh about 100 pounds. And they have incredibly long neck, and they move quite fast, and they're friendly. When they see you, they actually rush toward you. They rush as fast as they can, being turtles, but they actually move fast because they believe that you have something good for them to eat, and you are expected to bring something for them. So this is me. Okay, we're really close neighbors, and I was petting them and I was feeding them, and eventually one of them bite me, but just because I had a mango in one hand and the other hand was right next to it, and so it's anyhow, I could understand the mistake, but then I started being more careful. And flowers, beautiful flowers. Spring all year round. We are almost at the equator, and therefore the temperature can change within maybe 5 degrees all year round. Rainy season, non-rainy season, during the last years, as we were told, there's almost no difference. So you have maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maximum of half an hour of rain per day. We had 10 minutes per week, that's it. And that's enough to support this beautiful vegetation. Some clear water with some seaweed, and another beautiful beach. And this is something we really enjoyed. The vegetation, you see, it looks like little humps. I don't know, little hills. These little hills are actually about 30 feet above ground, because underneath you have tall trees which are covered with this vegetation, which just climbed on them and cover them completely. So this is just next to where we stayed. And more of the forest and more. Okay, these are crabs. These are crabs which populate the beaches, and these are huge. They're not as big as the turtles, but they're very impressive. You see, this is a hole which is made by a sea crab on the beach, and this is a cap of a plastic bottle, a mineral water bottle, so you will be able to compare the sizes. So the crab should be like maybe this big. Okay, and of course the locals eat them, which we did not do. Another beautiful beach. This is a local girl, and I saw her, and that's probably her brother. They were digging in the sand for quite a long period, and so eventually I asked them, "What are you doing?" And then they said that they're looking for special little like oysters, but not local type of oysters, and then they cook them and they make soup out of them, like little white oysters. I felt sorry for the oysters, and that's not because they are poor, just because this is a traditional food, and it reminded me of, again, the Russian habit of collecting mushrooms in the woods. So the Russians collect mushrooms, and the locals collect oysters, digging in the white sand. So everybody with his own traditional food. Sailing towards a little island called St. Anne from the main port of Victoria. This is a ship. We were told, I'm not sure this is true, but we were told that this is the ship which is responsible for more tuna fish than any other boat in the Indian Ocean. Meaning that the majority of the tuna fish from the Indian Ocean comes thanks or because of this ship. Again, I'm not sure this is true because it looked too small to me, but I don't know. They are quite advanced. You can see that this is a wind power plant. They also have some solar batteries, not that many, but they do have it. And this structure on top of the hill, this is the palace which belongs to the Khalifa, to the ruler of Abu Dhabi. So it was funny because, I've been there like 1.5 months ago, and all of a sudden we saw this really, like, this is the biggest by far structure we saw in the island. And then we asked the guide, what is this? And he was like, oh, this is the palace of the Khalifa. And the Khalifa owns a lot on the island. Up until 7 months ago, when they had a change of government, everybody could become a citizen of Seychelles. You had to have at least $10,000 in the bank in Seychelles. Okay, you have to have a bank account, and you have to spend at least 5 days a year on the island. That's it. And then you can apply for citizenship, and then you become a citizen, and then you can own businesses. So Seychelles served as a tax refuge for, wealthy people from all over the world, including the Khalifa of Abu Dhabi. 7 months ago, they had elections. That's familiar to us. And now the regulations changed. And so now the only way for you to become a citizen of Seychelles, if you consider that, okay, so the only way for you is to marry a citizen of Seychelles. That's it. So it's more difficult to become a citizen of a paradise. Well, that's me. And this is the crew of the boat. Look at their faces. Okay. I just enjoy looking at the faces of the locals. Something between India, Jamaica, Africa, and I don't know what else. Okay, just the sound of this Creole Seychelles, Creole Seychelles. I don't know what is the right term. Did you hear that? Okay, this is okay. And then we landed on the island and we walked around, and of course more turtles. There's no way you can avoid a turtle, and the beautiful rocks with some weird rock formations, and an amazing blue sea behind me, of course. This is how you get a coconut. Okay, now you can see the same crew member we saw a minute ago on the different stages of climbing up the tree. He started from the left and then the middle, and then he basically disappeared up here, surrounded by the coconuts. It was not a very tall tree, as you can see from the ground, but it was one which is easy to climb. And all right, you get food. Okay, you have they have a special technique to break the coconut, and then inside you have the liquid, and then inside you have this coconut meat, as it is called. Plenty of food. You can basically survive having coconuts only. Of course, you have also fish, you have seafood, you have other fruits around you. I mean, this one of the reasons why it is considered to be paradise, because you don't have to work, or almost nothing. I mean, you can actually make a living. You don't have to heat yourself. You don't have to have clothes. And most of the time, people actually walk around, you know, well, men walk around having only shorts. That's enough. This is perfectly okay. You don't need a jacket. You have coconuts around you. You know, beautiful blue lagoon. Okay, this is real. I mean, we add no colors to it. And then we hiked at the mounts. And in the mounts, you have this little riverbed, this little waterfall, which make this crystal clear mineral water ponds, which you can swim in. And then occasionally during the monsoon period, which is now, even though we had no rain, as I told you, they become real flash flood waterfalls, and then this pool becomes great and still clear, and nobody is there. Just wonderful. Now, you know, when we first announced this presentation, it was called a primitive culture, and this term, I kept thinking about it. I mean, should we call this culture, this way of life, primitive? Because when we say primitive, we always think of something, you know, it is simple, but primitive is not just simple. We always patronize when we say that somebody else is primitive, right? So I don't know if this culture is primitive or just simple. I tend to think that it is just simple. Look, again, these are the coconuts, the decoration by hibiscus flowers. And the coconut is big, it's like this big. And if you drink the coconut and you eat the white stuff, the meat of the coconut, you're full for the whole day. And it has the minerals and it has the vitamins. Why should you bother about working? And well, this is an old local selling the coconut with a big knife. Actually, it's a bit difficult to open a coconut. You have to know how you do it. But after you learn, it takes you 2 minutes maybe. And then the tourists can get a straw and drink the coconut, which a coconut costs 35 rupees, which is less than $2. Okay, so for less than $2, you can make a living. And this is a stall of fruits, the coconuts, that's another one, and mangoes and papayas and bananas. And again, for $3, maybe you can get enough fruit for a day. This is a bus stop. See, this is the main road of the island. It is so narrow that you'd better drive the smallest possible car. The smaller, the better. And then you also drive on the left side. So for us, that was very difficult. And sometimes there are some shoulders. Most of the time, there are no shoulders whatsoever. And since there are no shoulders and no sidewalks, so you see, this is the bus stop. How do you know that this is the bus stop? Because it says so. You see, it's written on the road, bus stop. That's it. Okay, this is where the bus will stop, and it stops. Okay, why is the bus stop here and not elsewhere? Because here, you see, on the left, there is a little bit of grass, meaning that somebody can stand here instead of standing in the middle of the road, and that's what a bus stop looks like. Do you really need more than that? I mean, you always have enough shade because there is a tree nearby. You don't need cover from rain because the rain is warm. So if you get wet, so what? So now you're cleaner than before. No snow, no cold, no nothing. That's the bus stop. And then here on the left, you see this is a pipe, okay? This is a pipe. Inside there is fresh water coming from the spring to somewhere. And since it is so hot and this part of the pipe is exposed to the sun, so it is covered with something which looks like brown fabric, right? But, well, it is sort of fabric, but it's made of coconut. It's made of the coconut fibers. So again, why do you need plastic or anything pricey, complicated? This is the best. So the pipes are protected by coconut fibers. And they are very, very strict about COVID-19 regulations. So everybody were wearing masks, like 100%. And we had to do the COVID-19 test before we landed and everything. But you are allowed to sit in the trunk when you drive the car. This is legal. So you don't see that, but these guys are actually wearing masks. So they are okay. This time there are only 2 of them. Sometimes you can see 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, whatever people sitting just outside. And the car is driving very, very slow since the roads are so narrow and they're curving. Like if you drive, you would normally make a 180 degrees curve every 2 or 3 minutes. So the average speed is about 20 miles per hour. That's it. And since the island is very small, like the island is only about 120 something square miles. It is only 17 miles long. Okay, it's tiny little, but because the roads are so slow, it makes you feel as if, you know, it's actually bigger. So it is a good thing. Once again, you have the coconut, you have cacao plants. These are the pink fruits here. This is cacao. And this is a tiny little, well, I'm not sure what he was growing here. Maybe it was basil, but I'm not sure. But this guy living here, he just made himself a little tray, if you wish, place some soil on it, maybe to protect it from insects, or I don't know why. And he's growing a little bit of something he needs for his household. And this guy here, he actually has a big fancy house, totally surrounded by vegetation. And I'm sure they are happy. And actually, when we were talking to people there, people would say, we are blessed. And I can totally understand why. It is a blessing to live in Seychelles. The diversity of cultures and religions is amazing. You know, here on the left, this is the Hindu temple, a typical Hindu temple. Here on the right, you can see a very typical mask of Buddha, which was one of the decorations of the villa we lived in, even though the owner, she was Christian Catholic. And the official religion is Christianity. Most of the people of Seychelles are Christian Catholics. And this is a typical Catholic church, okay? We just walked in to see if there is any difference between a church in, I don't know, elsewhere in Seychelles. And no, it was a very typical Catholic church. And then just before we left, you know, I noticed something which could be only in Seychelles. This is the doorstop, okay? It's a coconut, okay? It's a green coconut which is used as a doorstop because this is the most handy thing. And another hike overlooking the ocean. This is a bird we saved. Somehow it got stuck into some sticky thing. I don't know what it was, but we saved it. It seems unhappy, but it was happy after about 15 minutes when we set it free finally. Rock formations on the way, more blue lagoon, and finally you make it to this tiny little private beach, as I told you. And then what? Well, if you want, you can hike back. If not, so you see there is a sign here, somebody placed it on the palm tree, and it says taxi boat. Okay, if you don't feel like hiking back, all you need to do is call this number +248. This is the Seychelles code, and then the boat will come and pick you up. Okay, taxi boat, very convenient. Almost in every beach you will find such a sign. But we did not use the boat because we had kayak, which we brought. This is an inflatable kayak, which we brought from home. So we were sailing back and forth. That was great activity. And then we went to the market. Again, fruits, flowers, spices. You see this lady who sells spices, she is Muslim. She is Orthodox Muslim, and she does not need a COVID-19 mask because she has the scarf to protect her. And fish, okay. The basic food is coconuts, mangoes, papayas, so basically fruit, and fish and seafood. You know, when you open the menu in a typical local restaurant, so it will normally start with an octopus. So you have an octopus salad, you have an octopus curry, you have an octopus dish, you have fried octopus, and so on and so forth. And then you have the fish in this or that way, and then you have the oysters, and then you have crabs. And anyhow, if you love seafood, it's great. If you don't eat seafood, which is true for us, so you don't have much choices. I mean, in a typical restaurant, the only vegetarian food would be pizza. Okay, so we actually had 4 pizzas 4 days in a row because this is all we could get. And if you're lucky, and if this is an Indian restaurant you found for lunch, or there is at least an Indian dish, so then you will get a curry, vegetable curry. And sometimes we were lucky as well. But again, it's better to be a seafood lover. This is what, speaking of the market, you know, this is what the Seychelles money looks like. You see how pretty it is, how colorful it is. And again, so just natural, you know, we have the gecko, we have a frog, the birds, again, no religion, no politicians, but also no culture. You don't see any writer or any Nobel Prize winner, nothing like that. It's only about nature. And again, it's not surprising because there are only 100,000 Seychelles. So, this is the mangrove. This is amazing. I mean, the Mangrove Miracle. You know, mangroves are plants. They also, like, if you Google mangroves, so you'll probably see that we are talking about bush, shrubs, small vegetation, which can grow in brackish, salty water. So I don't know how about Google, but what we saw in Seychelles are mangroves, which are growing in the ocean, almost no fresh water added. Huge trees. You see this tree here on the right? I mean, it is enormous. And it has some ferns which are growing on it. And this water, and that contradicts all we always saw, you know, normally you see a tree, you know that this is fresh water, and then it contradicts your lifelong experience. This is seawater. It should not be like that, but that's how it is. Huge trees growing in the seawater, and we were kayaking back and forth, and it was just a miracle. This is the last sunset 2 days ago in Seychelles. And this is the last morning. That was only yesterday morning. It feels as if it was long ago. You know, things change so rapidly. This is the first time we saw actual, rain clouds. It did not rain eventually, but it felt as if it is going to rain. And then all of a sudden, our paradise became sort of grayish, but yet beautiful. And the sea changed its color in seconds, but you still have the coconut palm here. And another look at the Teresa Island, which is nearby. And this is our last lunch. As you can see, consisted of fruits, the local fruits right on the beach. And you just sit on the sand, you eat the fruits, and you feel like there's nothing else to do in the world. Why should you rush anywhere? But we did rush to the airplane to get back home. But it will always remain as a paradise in our memories. And we are back at the airport. We flew El Al, and this is a Seychelles plane, which was on its way to Ethiopia, same time as we left. And this is the wing of our airplane up above the Indian Ocean. So that's it. Thank you for joining me in Seychelles. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'm sure you will enjoy it so much better if you go there in reality. And I wish you all the best. Go to Seychelles and come to Israel. So now I will stop sharing my screen. I can see quite a few things were written on chat. So questions are welcome.
Thank you, Julia.
Okay.
That was great.
You're welcome.
I want that fresh fruit now. That looked better
Oh
than
yeah,
to me.
yeah. It's highly recommended. And then you have to go swimming in the Indian Ocean.
It looks beautiful, really.
It is, and the turtles are so friendly. Okay, so let's see. Jerusalem Post indicates that individual tourists will be allowed to Israel starting from July 1st. Really? Well,
No, Pam. Go ahead, Pam.
Not definite. I mean, it's just, maybe. So, because you haven't heard that, Julia, and I get an update every day from a thing.
Well, I actually avoided getting updated during the last week. I decided that I'm gonna enjoy my vacation. I'm going to stay in paradise. I want to do nothing with Israeli politics, with Israeli security, with Israeli COVID-19. So I have no idea. I wish everybody will be allowed. So, but I don't know. I hope. I mean, guys, we still don't have a government. Okay, to begin with, there is no government. So let's begin with a government, and then maybe the government will decide to do something. Okay. Okay. I see that. Okay, you were talking about this question. What airline and how long is the flight? Yeah, that was El Al. It's a direct flight by El Al. It's 6 hours long flight. 6 hours. Well, that's pretty far away. Look, it's about 4,000 kilometers away, and yeah. So that's a 6 hours long flight, but very convenient, beautiful aircraft. Okay, other mountains, granite. Yes, all the mountains are granite. Most, like the populated, the inhabited islands of Seychelles, they are granite islands with this lush, amazing vegetation. And there are dozens of non-inhabited islands, which are atolls, which are like coral islands, but we have not been to those. Yeah, it's non-stop again. So this is very convenient. I have no idea why Israel chose Seychelles as a direct flight destination, but that's how it is. So, going to Fiji would take us about, 3 days in a row, but going to Seychelles took us only 6 hours. And that's why we chose Seychelles. Okay. Oh, Celeste wrote that she visited Seychelles on 2009 and spent 2 weeks sailing around all the atolls. Okay, well, that's in the future. Okay. Do they collect rainwater like in Bermuda? Do they have wells? Okay, they do collect rainwater. I don't know how about Bermuda. I have not been there, but they do collect rainwater. And the running water is rainwater, but it's they add chlorine to it, probably because germs or microbes. So anyhow, people don't drink tap water. You can drink it; it's okay, it's safe. But the smell of chlorine is nothing you want to smell, and so people drink bottled mineral water from springs and some imported, but mostly from local springs, and the tap water just for washing and stuff. Tortoise. What is the difference between tortoise and turtle? Can anybody explain, please?
The tortoise is born on land and stays on land. The turtle lives in the water, hatches eggs on land, and goes back to the water.
Ah, okay. Thank you, Alvin. I did not know that.
It's
okay,
like a frog
so
and
a toad. Right. Okay. I didn't know that. Okay. So yes, definitely. These are tortoises. Yeah. Not turtles, tortoises. Okay. Agree. Totally. Okay. What does it cost to stay there? Well, obviously depends where you stay. Okay. We stayed in this beautiful villa, which was like the best we could wish for. And we paid 810 euros for 6 nights. Okay, so then you have to calculate it into dollars. It's not that much. I mean, you would get nothing like that in Israel. So it's
and that included breakfasts or what?
No. And breakfast was paid separately, and that was 15 euros per breakfast per person. But yeah, and it was just amazing. There are some places which are much cheaper. There are some 5-star hotels which are much more expensive, but for 120 euros per night, you get the perfect villa for yourself.
How did you find it?
Booking.com.
Okay.
Booking.com. Vegetation is like coconut. They can climb the trees. Coconut crabs. I know that they exist. We did not see those, but probably they are there. I mean, we're members of these islands impacted by COVID. Where? I don't know. I don't know, but there were quite a few cases of COVID-19 in Seychelles. Actually, there was some, peak, and now it's getting better. I guess tourists brought it with them because it is a very, very popular tourist destination, and it's actually the main income for these islands is tourism, so they could not ban it totally. And they also have quite a few foreign workers, people mainly from Bangladesh. So people, flying back and forth, and apparently they brought COVID-19 with them. What kind of tour did you take? Well, we were on our own, and then we took only one tour, just this boat ride to 3 different little islands, to the marine park of St. Anne. But it was only a day tour, and the rest of the time we rented a car, and we brought a kayak, and okay. Are there income taxes at all? Oh, okay. This is a good question. There is almost no income tax. And now again, the government changed, and so they are going to change their laws. I did not really understand how the whole thing works, because on one hand, there are almost no income taxes, On the other hand, it is quite a social oriented society. So they get, for instance, businesses which suffered, decrease in income because of COVID-19. They got support from the government. There is social security payments. I'm not sure how it works, but somehow nobody got real poor. Nobody, like, everybody had enough to eat, enough to wear. They are safe, but yet the income taxes are very low. And then, it was funny. One evening we were on the beach, and of course there are very few tourists now comparing to the normal amount of tourists, because this is the low season anyhow, and because of COVID-19. So anyhow, we were on the beach and there were very few tourists, and then it was almost dark. We were about to go home. And then a guy who was selling coconuts on the beach, he approached us. And he said, well, there are almost no tourists, and I sold almost no coconuts, and I need money. And would you please buy a coconut from me, because I really need the money? And, we felt like, oh yeah, we did not want the coconut. We wanted to help the guy. So we asked, okay, how much is the coconut? And he said, well, normally I sell it for 150. But, because of the situation, so just give me as much as you want. Okay. All right. So we decided that, we will not take advantage of the situation. So I was about to give him 150. We are talking in rupees. Okay. 150 rupees is, Harry, 16 rupees is $1. So that's about $10, right? Yeah, that's approximately $10. All right, $9 maybe. Anyhow, that's not very cheap. Anyway, so I was about to give him the 150 rupees because I was a nice person. And then the guy said, listen, could you please give me 175 because I want to buy pizza. and I was like, well, okay. So I gave him the 175 and he was pleased, and we were, surprised, and we got the coconut, which we did not want. But what I'm trying to say is that, he started with, oh, I'm so poor, you have to help me. But all he needed is pizza, because obviously with 175 rupees, he could get some rice, lentils, etc. So nobody's real poor. Okay. You see numbers on the back of the turtles. How many turtles are on the island? Well, on this specific island are a few dozens of turtles, but they obviously they multiply, so they just number them, and then they distribute them to other islands and to other zoos and other countries, and so these are the world's largest seed pod, right? The world's largest coconut grows on the other island, which we did not visit, called Praline. And it is like a huge one. They're on display all over the place, but we did not see the actual trees, the coco de mer. Yeah. So coco de mer, no, I did not show the coco de mer because I did not see them myself. Is there a crime? Okay, any rules as to what tourists cannot do? Well, not as far as I'm aware of. I mean, nobody told me anything, so I guess, we can do whatever we want. It feels like there is no crime. I mean, we saw people walking down the road at night, women alone, women in like tank tops. It feels really, really safe. You see open ATMs all over the place. And like when we rented the car, so we checked, the amount of petrol. We saw that there are no scratches and nothing, the car is not damaged as we normally do. And then when we dropped it off, nobody looked at the car, nobody checked it. Nobody checked the amount of fuel. they just trusted us. The lady just said, is everything okay? And we said, yeah, everything is 100%. So she said, all right, thank you, have a nice flight. And that was it. And she came with flip-flops. You know, everybody's working with flip-flops. I mean, the officials, they do wear a shirt, but that's it. Okay, they wear a shirt, shorts, and flip-flops, which is more than enough. Okay. Okay. What? My email address. Okay, my email address is well.
Do you want me to put it down there?
Yeah, please, because somehow it doesn't want to switch to English. It's on Hebrew. Okay, yeah. Thanks. Okay. What type of snakes? We did not see any snakes at all, and nobody mentioned a snake. So, I don't know. I don't know about snakes. Medical care system. Do they have a hospital? Yes, they have a hospital. They have clinics. I don't know how about medical insurance. I mean, I don't know if it's something you have to pay separately or it's part of your taxes like in Israel. I don't know. As a tourist, you have to present a valid medical insurance from your country of origin, which also covers COVID-19, but I don't know how about the locals. Besides all the fresh fruit and no dairy, what did you eat? Well, we ate mostly pizza because, well, I love pizza because, as I told you, I mean, what you are expected to eat is seafood and fish. And if you don't do that, so, well, that's your problem. So you either look for an Indian restaurant, and then Indian restaurants, they will always have, you know, a variety of vegetarian and vegan dishes. But if you don't have a handy Indian restaurant, so you end up eating pizza, which is fine for me. You know, pizza and mango, I did not feel that I have any difficulties with the diet. I was just good. So the pizza are not made with flour-based dough? Yes, of course, it is. They import the flour. They import the wheat, and they import basically everything. I mean, if you go to a supermarket, a big supermarket, so then you can find dairy products. We saw yogurts coming from where was it? Somewhere in Europe. We saw raspberries coming from Portugal. We saw blueberries coming from Chile. We saw cheddar cheese coming from Bahrain, and etc. Okay, they grow fruits and seafood, and that's basically it. The rest is imported. And so in the small grocery stores, you don't get to buy that much. If you want to spoil yourself, so then you have to drive to the city. Now, fortunately, it's never too far because, you know, if you drive for an hour, so eventually you get wherever you want, and then you can get a yogurt if you really, really need it. Spiders. We did see a spider, but I can say nothing about it. I mean, it was a spider, but sorry. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, thank you for listening. And any further questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself.
So for the local people going to the grocery stores and buying imported food, that's very expensive.
Well, things are expensive. I mean, I'm not 100% sure that the price of the coconut we paid is same as the price for locals. Okay, let's say.
They can pick their own. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You don't normally shop for coconuts, but the cost of living is quite expensive. I mean, going to a grocery store, you pay almost same as in Israel. So it is expensive, except of Coca-Cola, by the way. Coca-Cola was very cheap. Again, this is important. I love Coke. But being a local, you don't go to a grocery store that much because, again, you have the sea, you have the coconut, you have the mango, you have the papaya. This is something you have just in your yard or in the woods. And occasionally, if you want pasta, so then you go to the grocery store.
Those houses that you showed looked very pretty. I mean, they were
very they're very pretty. I mean, we did not see poverty. I mean, we did see some very simple houses, but even in the, you know, when we went to this hike up in the mountains, so as we were hiking higher and higher, so, you know, further away, the houses became simpler and poorer. And eventually the last house was like a real shack. Okay. It was real poor house. And we looked at it because it was the first poor house we saw. And then the door was open, and then 3 little colored girls walked out, and they were so pretty, and they were clean. They were nicely dressed, you know, their hair was done. And later we saw their mom, and they saw us. So they asked in perfect English, you know, there was a girl, she was like maybe 5, 6 years old, and she had this perfect British English. And she said, "Are you going to the waterfall?" And we said, yes. And she said, "Well, you have to go straight forward and then you cut into the woods." And so we did exactly that. And then on our way back, we saw the same 3 girls with their mom, and they were, you know, they were clean and nice and polite, and they walked downhill towards the bus stop. So it is really like, we've been to India and Sri Lanka and Thailand, and when you travel in these places, you feel so filthy rich, you know, you feel like you just have too much money, and people are looking at you as a walking ATM, basically. And it doesn't happen in Seychelles because somehow again, I don't really know. I don't really know what is the average income in Seychelles, but you feel that people have enough. So they are happy to help you. They're happy if you buy whatever they sell, but not more than that, you know. And you're not a walking ATM there, and you don't feel ashamed of how rich you are. So this is another great part of the tour.
Julia, what are the schools like down there, or do they have an education?
Yeah. They have primary schools, they have high schools, they have a university, they have a college. Yes, and actually we saw a few schools. You know, we have not been inside. I don't know what the classroom looks like, but the building itself was nice and clean, and they had a big yard for kids to play, and a soccer field, and you know, and the kids were wearing uniform, again, shorts and that, but you know, and the lady we stayed, like the owner of the apartment, she worked for the government. She was an ecologist. She is an ecologist. She worked for the government, and then when she retired, she opened this tourist business. And her daughter, who cooked the breakfast, she's a lawyer, and they both of them studied in Seychelles. So I imagine this is no Harvard, you know, but yes, they have education. This is a mandatory education, and then some of them will keep studying in Seychelles. Other will go to, you know, elsewhere across the ocean.
That's why there's no.
My guess is that they probably are based on the British education system.
Probably. Yeah.
I taught in Nigeria, so
well,
and it was the whole British system of going up through high school and
Mhm.
elementary school, etc.
Mhm, mhm.
Probably an extra year. It was an extra year rather than the 6 years of secondary school. It had 7 years, and then you went on to the university. If you went, I mean,
Mhm, mhm.
not everybody went, but
As
so it
long-
probably was based on the British.
Yeah.
Uh,
Probably, yeah. I mean, they are independent only since 1976. So I guess they have the same British, British system. Mhm.
as long as there's a system, yeah.
Yeah, there is something good is going on there for sure, and people are very, they're very relaxed. They're very easygoing. Like it happened to us twice that in Israel you drive on the right hand side versus the left hand side. So when we were driving, we were very much focused in it. But it happened twice that something distracted us, and all of a sudden, there was a car driving right in front of us. So we stopped and the other car stopped, and they were very patient, and they just waited for us to understand that we made a mistake, and then we just moved to the left side and it was okay. And sometimes, you just drive down the road, and then the guy who's driving in front of you, he saw a friend. So he stops in the middle of the road, and, he will chat for a few moments, and then he will keep driving. And if you can bypass, and if not, so that's fine. And things are really they're relaxed, and things are very slow because, when you drive like 20 miles per hour, you can always stop and it's safe. And it's never too cold, so you never rush anywhere. Just very, very calm.
Julie,
If you were there longer, you would automatically stay to the left. After driving for maybe a month, you would feel just like you would be on the left.
I know. Actually, I was almost killed in an accident which occurred exactly because of what you said. I was many years ago. I was in Japan, and in Japan they're driving on the left-hand side. So I was driving in Japan for 3 months in a row. And I got so used to it. So when I came back to Israel, I had to really focus on the right-hand side driving. So I was focusing, and then a few days after I came back, I was driving with my cousin, and we got engaged in a conversation, and I forgot about it, and automatically I moved to the left. And then in Israel, people don't drive 20 miles per hour. So, and luckily it was up in the Golan. She used to live in the Golans back then. So I was driving on the left side of the road, and I was alone for a few moments. And then all of a sudden I saw a car right in front of me. Now I was driving like 70 miles per hour maybe, and the other car did exactly the same. And I did not understand what's wrong. And I was waiting for the other car to move, and the other car was waiting for the same. And the bottom line was that at the last second, I turned to the left, and we did not crash. The car just stopped, and it took me another minute to understand what happened. Like I was driving on the left-hand side.
Yep.
You were lucky.
Yeah, you get all used to driving on the particular side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had an incident one time when we were driving from Nigeria to Niger. Niger drives on the right, Nigeria drives on the left. And when we crossed the border, there were no guards or anything. Everybody was driving on the same side. So,
Julie,
Yeah, Ine.
this 100,000 people, what's the system there? Political, government? What kind of system?
Yeah, well, it is a democracy. What happened was that back in 1976, they declared independence as a democracy, and then a year later, the prime minister, there were democratic elections, and the prime minister declared himself as the president, and basically it became not a monarchy, but a what do you call it when you have one? What is the term when you have one leader?
a republic.
Dictatorship.
Yeah, actually dictatorship, right. A dictatorship, and the Democratic Party was declared illegal.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, that was a surprise. And the government was very corrupt. I mean, it was socialist on one hand, but very corrupt on the other hand. Again, I'm not specialist in Seychelles politics, but this is what, again, the lady told us, the owner. And only 7 months ago, they had first democratic elections, first in 43 years. And now they have a brand new government, which is going to change everything, starting from the way you get citizenship to taxes to everything. And this new government is believed to be less corrupt. And she hoped for the best. So right now it is a democracy, and you know, I wish them luck. Alvin, you asked if the Khalifa's residence is the former British High Commissioner's residence. Well, we were told that it was built by the Khalifa himself. You know, I did not check, but that's what we were told. Now, regarding the driving in Israel, this is a commonly asked question because, as we all know, it was part of the British mandate before the Declaration of the Independence. But no, we never drove on the left-hand side, and that's because when the British, you know, became the landlord, there were already cars here, and these cars were already driving on the right-hand side. So the British decided not to change sides, so not to make confusion. And so in Israel, even when it was Palestine, we were always driving on the right-hand side. Okay. Yeah, no, it is a good question, actually. So yeah, I mean, the British decided just, you know, to leave us alone.
good. That's always good.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, guys, so this is as much as I could tell you about the Seychelles, and it is a wonderful place indeed to visit, and all tourists are welcome, assuming they are vaccinated and they have negative COVID test. So that's all it requires.
Julia, can you tell us about the programs coming up?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, thank you for reminding me. So next week, we have a presentation by a speaker you already heard and loved. And this is Akiva Gersh. Akiva Gersh was talking about, whoa. Well, it was a great presentation, but what was
Kabbalah.
No, he will be talking about Kabbalah, but he was talking about something else. Oh, about the Ghetto Fighters Museum. Right. Okay, so he was talking about the Ghetto Fighters Museum. That was a presentation for the Holocaust Memorial Day. And this time he will be talking about the Kabbalah, okay, which is the secret and mystical and amazing and practical and spiritual teaching and knowledge in Judaism. Okay, so this is the presentation by Akiva Gersh, and Thursday next week we will have a tour which is also deeply fundamentally Jewish, and this is the Western Wall tunnel tour. So we will be walking along the hidden, the underground part of the Western Wall. So imagine that you start walking from the Western Wall, as you all know it. So the Western Wall is exposed, and then on the right-hand side, you have the southern part of the Western Wall, which is also exposed, and it's part of the Davidson part. So you can go downstairs and actually walk on the pavement from the King Herod time. And then if instead of taking a right from the Western Wall, you will take a left from the Western Wall. So then you have to walk downstairs and underground, and then you can keep walking north along the Western Wall, and you will be walking on the same pavement from the times of King Herod the Great, but it is underground because the city, the later city. The old city, as we know it today, was built on top. So you will have to imagine that you are walking down the street and the sky is above you, but you will be actually walking underground, all the way from the Western Wall to the Muslim Quarter, to the first station of the Way of the Cross. Okay,
Julia?
so this is, yes,
What about if you're claustrophobic?
Well, this is a very good question. Okay, I am claustrophobic, and don't tell others, but I hate the tunnels because no. I mean, it is amazing.
I understand.
Okay? You do understand. Okay, great, great mind think alike. Look, it is amazing. It is something I believe you must visit, and since it is so amazing and important, I've been there quite a few times before, and yet I'm so happy when when I get out. So anyhow, again, one of the advantages of the Zoom experience is that even if you're claustrophobic, so you can look around and, hey, I'm home, you can open the window, and it will be okay. And yeah. Great. So this is where we are going. We are going to go very, very Jewish next week. Okay. Kabbalah, Western Wall. Okay. Ina, did you want to say something?
Yeah, unrelated question to the topics. Do you know, are there process of organizing groups to travel to Bahrain because of good relationship?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there are, because there's so many guided tours to the Emirates. So I guess there are tours to Bahrain as well, but I did not look for them. So I can see, I can look for them, but I don't know.
I've been in Oman and
the Emirates. Yeah, I know. It told me
very much to go with a group.
Yeah, to Bahrain.
Not long weekend, 3-4 days. Not. I read everything what we can see. It's not much. Probably just a weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
I don't know. I can search, but if I will find them, it will be Hebrew speaking.
That's the thing.
Okay, that's okay.
It is okay for you, Hebrew speaking?
Yeah, I will go with Hebrew speaking.
All right. So I will make some inquiries. Okay.
So
sure. And then you will have to do a presentation about Bahrain. Okay. All right. Well, we have to meet maybe the week after. Yeah, we have to meet in Tel Aviv now.
It's also archipelagos, by the way, of islands.
Bahrain. What, Bahrain? Okay. I didn't know that. I know nothing about Bahrain yet. I have to admit.
I was looking for tours and I read it what to see there, and that's also islands. Amazing islands.
Wow. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure spending the evening with you.
Thank you.
As always.
For the afternoon.
Thank you.
Your afternoon, my evening, almost night.
You're welcome to stay on for schmooze time. And if you want to get to that index, just remember Steve had to change the site. So instead of tinyurl tinyurl.com/VFI educates, it's that exact same thing, but with the number 2 at the end. Okay? It's like that first site, like the time was up. So we had to make another one.
Okay. Ilana, thank you so much for being Ilana and Steve, VFI. It was a pleasure. And okay. All the best, and see you Tuesday.
See you Tuesday. Laila Tov.
Bye, everyone. Laila Tov. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.